Welcome, I'm the DeadwoodJedi. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. We're going to go over the top 10 champions for the Bat Eater clan boss team, right? Any variation therein. Basically, using Man-Eater to stay alive, and you have one damage dealer. That's kind of what we're doing here. So what does that mean? Well, I'm still going to be leaving off some pretty powerful champions that are just a pain in the butt to use. I'm talking about Ninja. I'm talking about Akrizia. I'm talking about Michinaki. It's not to say you can't use those champions for here. It's just that in almost all those cases, you're going to be better off using them in other areas of the game. So let's not confine them to clan boss unless you absolutely have to. If you do have to, they're going to be at the top of this list. So they're definitely good ones to go for. But these are 10 other champions that I think are going to be preferred champions for you to use. If you have these on your account, these are the ones I would build up for this clan boss team. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one that comes out. And of course, if you enjoyed today's music, we have that SoundStripe link down below in the pinned comment description of this video, and you can use code DeadwoodJedi to save 15%. Number one on my list, and you know, there can definitely be some disagreement about this, but for me, it's easily Dracomorph. Dracomorph is an insane damage dealer. Now, one of the great things about this team is you can run Relentless, right? The Bat Eater team especially, you can run Relentless, but even in the variations where you can't, Draco's insane, right? Not only does he bring decreased defense and weaken, which yes, we're gonna need both of those. He also brings poisons, which yeah, we're gonna want that as well. And then his A1 does stupid damage on this, stupid damage. So a lot of times you can benefit from having toxic set on your champions and turning off the A2. It does hit pretty hard though, so it's not really worth it. You're better off having the big poisons from Draco. That's why he's such a good champion for this. He's gonna one key with, you know, what he brings to the team pretty much by himself. Number two on my list is Gintoro, and Gintoro is insane for this comp, especially if you can put him in Relentless gear. You get so many attacks, you start proccing his A3 ability over and over and over again. The one where he gets 5 attacks instead of just 1, an insane amount of damage and really, really strong. He does bring decreased defense and weaken with that ability, hits super hard, and just makes this whole team work really well. Putting Toxic on your Man-Eaters or your Painkeeper or whomever really does a lot to help up the damage, but Gintoro by himself is pretty insane. Third on the list is Belenor, and that might come a little bit as a surprise because his damage numbers by themselves aren't as stupendous as you might think. But what he does bring, and this is kind of his best thing, he obviously brings decreased defense and weaken. That's fantastic, and we definitely need that. But also, he brings increased crit rate aura, and that's super valuable because when you can build everybody to only 76% crit rate, it makes it a lot easier to build your team and build them well. One king with Belenor is not hard to do. On top of that, he's void, so no matter the affinity, you're going to be able to land those debuffs, and that actually goes a long ways towards being successful with this team. So 100% Belenor's an excellent champion. He does hit decently hard too, right? His A1 solid, his A3 is solid. They both do good damage. It's just that it really comes down to the decreased defense and weaken and that increased crit rate buff that he brings. Next on our list is Anax. Now Anax has a funky little passive that has him take an extra turn basically when his HP drops below 10% right after clan boss goes. Thankfully in this team, you can run Relentless and you can run Anax because they'll just have him go at the top of the turn. I think there are some special instructions for using him, so just pay attention to that, but generally he works just fine in this comp. He brings decreased attack, decreased defense, he brings decreased defense, weaken, and a bunch of poisons as well. And running him in Relentless should get you a pretty full debuff bar. He's definitely a top tier champion. Those stupid damage, his multipliers are some of the best in this game. So 100% somebody I would be using, and an epic on top of that. Hard not to like an Axe. Unlike a team like the Myth Fu, where you have a built-in champion like Eris that really prefers a toxic set on her, there's no real extra poisons coming in. So bringing in champions that bring decreased defense, weaken, and poisons is a real advantage. And Fane is a classic one of these type of champions, and why she's number 5 on this list. She brings that decreased defense and weaken, she brings those poisons, and she hits solidly hard. There's not much not to like about her. Got good base stats, solid multipliers, an excellent champion for Bat Eater teams. Absolutely one of my favorite champions for Bat Eater teams is Ragnaros Goldgleam, because his passive start really work for us. He has a passive ability that reduces the cooldown of his Gleam of Avarice skill by 1 turn every time he loses 15% HP. which is great because in the Bat Eater team, yes, you take damage. You don't die, but you take damage, and it helps cool that down. Now, you do have to turn off his A2. You don't want that running at all, but once you do, you get that A3 ability where you get the weaken, you get the decreased defense, and he gives himself increased attack. It's a really nice skill, very nice ability, and he's cooling that down every time, so he's getting that up quite a bit. He hits really hard, and then he also brings a leech on the A1, and the leech is important because it allows your team to heal back up, and by healing up, then you can start proccing those counterattacks from masteries, which is really nice all in all. So overall, he's actually a really, really good choice for a Bat Eater team. Does really good damage. So again, number 6, Ragnaros. Number 7 is the champion I'm still looking for on my main account. Can't believe I don't have him, but it's talking about Farak and the Fat. Now, one of the big things we need from this spot is decreased defense and or weaken, right? Well, we're gonna get decreased defense from off his A1. Not as consistent as I'd like, but it is there. The big thing that we get is this ally attack ability, and that is always very, very strong. You can get multiple people attacking at the same time, bonus attacks, that's always useful, right? Increased crit rate, crit damage buffs is very good as well, definitely helps. And then he brings some HP burn and poisons too. So he's gonna help you fill up your debuff bar, and he's gonna get you a lot of extra attacks. In general, it's gonna be a win. He's not the best champion because he doesn't do great damage himself, but he does enable everybody else to do a lot of damage. Number 8 on this list might come as a bit of a surprise, and maybe honestly should go a little bit higher, but I'm talking about Aina, Suwai's other sister, right? Basically they look exactly the same. But the reason why Suwai's so good is, one, we can run Relentless in this team, so she has an extra turn on her A1. This usually disqualifies her from most teams, but for this one, it actually helps. Only a good thing, getting more turns. She has weaken on her A2, and she's got decreased defense on her A3. So all of these skills kind of work in conjunction together, and the extra turn bonus is good. On top of that, she hits hard, solid multipliers, solid base stats, like a lot to like on this. Speaking of champions that give themselves extra turn, Mist Rider Daithi comes in as number 9 on my list. Might not make yours, but I think he's kind of a very cool champion for this. Basically, he gives himself extra turn, increase attack buff, increase accuracy buff, so you can build him a little bit easier. Here with his A3, and gives himself an extra turn, so almost like it doesn't count. Then decrease defense, and if this lands, gets an extra turn. If I'm not mistaken, yep. If this placed on all enemies by the skill, so there's only one enemy. If it lands, then yes, he gets an extra turn, which is pretty nice. And then the A1 has a chance of giving himself an extra turn as well. So there's kind of a lot to like about this, as far as the fact that he can take turn after turn after turn after turn, and that's an easy way to build up the damage. He's not as good as far as multipliers and base stats go as a lot of champions are, but you're basically banking on the fact that he's going to take so many extra turns that it's going to be worth it. On top of that, he does bring that decreased defense, so that's always a good thing. And the increased accuracy buff means you can build him at a lot lower accuracy level as well. So not too shabby. And then, you know, got a little accuracy aura too. So you can build him pretty low on the accuracy front. So in general, pretty solid champion, I would say. And yeah, makes my list. All right, number 10 is kind of a surprise pick for me because I haven't played with her. I don't know for sure if she should even make this list. I feel like she should, so I'm putting her on the list. You guys can let me know down below if it's worth it or not. I'm talking about Suiren. Heck of a champion, right? She's got poisons on this A1, 2 hitters in each hit with a 50% chance with booked of placing a poison. That's always solid. A2 ability, weaken debuff, 2 hitter. Yes, please, thank you. A3, decreased defense ability. Yes, please, thank you. So essentially what's happening here is that we're getting decreased defense, we're getting weaken, and we're getting poisons all from the same kit. Now, are the base stats as high as I'd like? No. Are the multipliers as high as I'd like? I don't know. I haven't played with her. I'm not 100% sure on that. But I feel like there's so much in this kit to love. I feel like she is somebody that should be on this list. If she wasn't, if this was a champion that maybe I'm totally wrong about this, completely messed it up, completely off my rocker here, another champion that I would be looking at in this spot would be Barbarian, the sister of another champion that we used in there. And of course, I would be talking about Suwai. This is the other person I had on my list, right? She does bring decreased defense. She does bring weakened ability. I would turn off her A2 as it's the weakest of her skills. And I know she does decent damage as well. Solid multipliers, decent base stats. My guess is Suiren is going to be even better. Having those poisons in her kit is an advantage. And so that would be who I would recommend. All right, gave you my top 10 champions for a Bat Eater team. that I would use in the DPS slot. Even gave you a little bonus one in there. So definitely some champions options out there. Now there are tons more that are out there. And if you thought I left somebody off the list, let me know down below. Definitely would be happy to hear from you guys. Or if there's somebody I put on the list that you're like, that is an awful choice, you can tell me that also. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next we meet on the Deadwood Jedi.